and I'll be able to leverage that whenever I want. I haven't really taken advantage of that yet, but I'm making this video so that you will do better than me. Hi YouTube, Cori here. Just gonna do a quick video on just some things that I wish I had set up before we built our tiny house. So we built our tiny house in 2015, but we bought the trailer in January. We started building in February, and we finished it in November. So it was about, you know, a good couple months of hard work and effort. There's a few things that I wish we had done differently. Granted, it was back in 2015. We had just moved to the country, so I'm not saying that what we did was wrong. The way we approached it was wrong. Just for people who are ready to build a tiny house, committed to the idea, you have your money, you have your tools and equipment and your design and all that stuff laid out. But these are just some ideas to consider around the tiny house that you might not have considered before. Basically just ways to make money off of building a tiny house. You might think that it's just good for, you know, downsizing or saving money or having less things or being able to afford retirement or whatever. But you can also leverage building a tiny house and living in a tiny house, which I'm sure you've seen a lot of people do, having YouTube shows, you know, selling courses, writing books, all sorts of things. But there's a few things you can do if you set it up correctly before you start. So the first one is make sure you name your tiny house. It really honestly doesn't matter what you name your tiny house as long as it's something that no one else has thought of. That way you can set up an Instagram, Facebook page, and a website with that name, and it won't get lost in all the other tiny houses that are being built at the same time while you're building yours. So the first thing is, I wish we named our tiny house early. It took us a long time to think of South Island Tiny House, but now that I have it and I own that domain, that will always be mine, and I'll be able to leverage that whenever I want. I haven't really taken advantage of that yet, but I'm making this video so that you will do better than me. All right, so after coming up with a tiny house name, like South Island Tiny House, for example, you should definitely set up either a blog or a website. We set up a WordPress blog and we had a few views. It never got monetized or anything just because we weren't super invested in that. And primarily that was because we took absolute shit videos. And absolute shit photos. We were pretty much broke when we first got here. We didn't want to touch our savings because we knew that we would be using that for something. So we had a really crappy phone, and we had a really crappy digital camera. And so our photos just turned out awful. And so our blog didn't make any money or even get many views. So definitely suggest getting a good camera or a really good phone to take good photos on. That way your website and your blog will do better. The next thing I wish we had done is set up a YouTube channel. It's really easy these days to find information about how to film, how to make your films look interesting. I wish we had done that from the beginning just because people like serialized things. We're trying now with our regular build, but people aren't that interested in watching an absolutely normal regular size house being built. So I wish we had done that while we were building our tiny house. It would have been a lot more interesting and gotten a lot more views than our average of about, what, like 50 maybe? Anyway, so the YouTube channel is something also I would have done. And if you're on the lazier side and you don't want to have to like have, you know, a script for every day that you're also working on the tiny house, if you just don't have time for that, I think at least a good time-lapse camera is really helpful. We just bought one and I think it was about $300, but like instant footage that you can put on YouTube. You literally don't even have to talk over it if you don't want to. But the more things that you have online with your tiny house name on it, the more possibilities you have to leverage that later on. Jumping back to the website, I think having a newsletter too go along with your website is really helpful. If you don't have time to do it, it doesn't have to be like really regular. Having more content for people who want it, I think is definitely an advantage to get more views. Some other things I was thinking of for making money is having a Facebook page and an Instagram page for free advertisement for whatever you want to sell alongside with your tiny house. For example, your tiny house design. We never got ours like officially drawn up by a CAD drawer, but that's something very easy that you can do. Just go to a local university basically and find someone who's taking CAD drawing classes and, you know, offer to pay them a couple $100 to draw up your tiny house design, and then you can sell that on your website or Facebook or Instagram or whichever you would like. Another thing I was thinking of that was a great way of making money is to sell checklists on Etsy. So I made a lot of checklists when we would come out to the tiny house about what we needed to do in the kitchen to have it 100%, or what we needed to do in the bathroom, what kind of design and storage things that we needed to do, what things we needed to buy, where we were putting all our receipts, financial planning, etc., etc. So making a checklist, which is really easy to do on Canva, which is free, and you can sell that on Etsy or you can sell that on your website. And the last thing is probably best done after you're done building your tiny house is making an ebook. So I'm currently writing an ebook, but I don't think I have enough of an audience or a following or anything to even make a good go of it. But I am trying to get my confidence up and releasing this ebook. Comment below if you would be interested in reading an ebook about us building a tiny house. If not, I'll just save my time. Writing an ebook is a really great way of leveraging and utilizing all the knowledge that you've gained, all the experience, and using all those photos that you've taken to give other people information about how to build a tiny house. So those are just some ideas off the top of my head, things that I wish I had done before we started our tiny house back in 2015, things that we're trying to do now, which hasn't been very successful. But yeah, you gotta keep trying, and who knows, you know, maybe things will take off for you. So it's better to be prepared than to do things later on after someone's, you know, gotten your domain name that you want. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video if you liked it. We try to put out a video every Tuesday. Hopefully we're gonna try to be a bit more frequent than that. But so far, most of our footage or most of our videos is about our house that's being built here in New Zealand. We are still living in a tiny house. This is the tiny house that I'm in right now. We've been in it for about 5 years, but we're really excited for the next step, moving into a bit of a bigger space. Yeah, we're really excited. So thanks so much for watching to the very end. Really appreciate it. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye.